2, 3, 4.
Please welcome our distinguished faculty led by Faculty Marshals Dr. Dwayne Tannenbaum, Professor of History and this year's Teacher of the Year, and Dr. Martin Gitterman, Emeritus Faculty Professor and this year's Adjunct of the Year.
Four beats. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President's Party led by Professor Ann Ralsky, Lehman College Grand Marshal, and Professor Madeline Moran, Lehman College Deputy Grand Marshal. Now processing on the left, Lehman College's administration and academic leaders.
3,
processing on the right, the representatives of the City University of New York. Now processing on the left, the President's special guests. At this time, we would like to introduce the President's Dais Party. Dr. Vincent Prohaska, Professor of Psychology and Chair, Executive Committee of the General Faculty. Victoria Antonetti, President, Student Government Association. Dr. Rima Brusi. Antonio Garcia Padilla, former President, University of Puerto Rico. Dr. Mildred Garcia, President, California State University, Fullerton. Katie Haycock, Founder and President Emeritus, the Education Trust. James B. Milliken, Chancellor of the City University of New York. The Honorable William C. Thompson, Jr., Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York. Dr. Jose Luis Cruz, President of Lehman College, the City University of New York. Please remain standing as the Fordham ROTC Ram Battalion proceeds with the presentation of the colors. Continue to stand for our national anthem performed by Leslie Swanson, accompanied by Michael Spearman, Bronx Opera Company. We ask that you remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for people who are suffering from the aftermath of hurricanes and earthquakes, both close to home and around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Please welcome Dr. Vincent Prohaska, Professor of Psychology and Chair, Executive Committee of the General Faculty.
Good afternoon, and to all of our guests, welcome to Lehman College. It's my great privilege to welcome you to our annual convocation, and this year to the inauguration of Dr. Jose Luis Cruz as the third president of Lehman College. I would like to acknowledge the many members of the Lehman community who are true partners in helping us to meet our mission, our fellow Bronx anchor institutions, our elected representatives, our fellow CUNY colleges, and of course our CUNY leadership. We also are delighted to have with us representatives from the University of Puerto Rico, California State University at Fullerton, Clark Atlantic University, and so many others. It's quite an honor that Wendy Lehman Lash and William Lash are here to represent the Lehman family. Through the Edith and Herbert Lehman Foundation, they work tirelessly to advance the important values of humanitarianism and social justice that personify our college's namesake. Thank you for all you do. We truly appreciate all of you being here to celebrate with us today. Thank you. Presidential inaugurations are not a regular occurrence at Lehman. I joined the faculty in 1990, the inaugural year of our second president, Ricardo Fernandez. So in 27 years at Lehman, I've experienced a total of one president. Thus, it's exceedingly exciting to have a new president leading our college and to feel the enthusiasm and the energy of new leadership to advance the college's purpose and direction. The fact that President Cruz is only the third president for a college about to celebrate its 50th anniversary is uncommon, to say the least. Just as we rarely change presidents, our college has maintained the same fundamental mission since its founding: to be a college that matters, to be a college where education is a life-changing phenomenon, to be a college where the degrees our students earn pave roads towards solid futures and career trajectories, to be a college whose graduates can provide even greater possibilities for their children, to be a college that enriches the Bronx, my native borough, and the borough where I began my college career. Lehman College is a remarkable institution that deserves remarkable leadership. So on behalf of the faculty, I thank you, Dr. Cruz, for accepting the challenge to guide us and congratulate you on your investiture. In closing, I thank all of you, faculty, administrators, staff, students, alumni, and guests, for joining us here today. Thank you also for your support of Lehman College, our students, and our borough, and for all of your efforts to strengthen our college's mission in the years ahead. Thank you and welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Rima Brucey.
It has been a little over a year since my family and I joined the Lehman College community and established ourselves as residents of this great city. And I am very happy to report that we are as excited today as we were on the first day about advancing the mission of the City University of New York and about building a life here in the Bronx. My husband, Jose Luis Cruz, has said as much to many audiences in myriad venues. but I don't think he has talked much about just how personal the work he is leading is for him and how personal it is for us. So I will do it for him. There's much to be said about the role higher education played in us coming together, the students that set destiny in motion, the writing across the disciplines research project that created the conditions, even the IRB that allowed that first meeting to take place. Yes, our very first conversation was about how STEM faculty at the University of Puerto Rico integrated writing into their courses to increase student learning and success. A few days later, Jose Luis sent me a message through campus email, asking me out for coffee. He also included a short list of articles he figured we could read beforehand, you know, for us to discuss over coffee. So yes, our first date had a syllabus. Then came our first dinner date. We talked about, you know, the things people talk about on first dates, things like classroom dynamics, Senate meetings, committee work. Then, tired of shop talk, we shared our passions. I told him about my research and outreach work in inequality and social justice. He told me about his research and outreach work democratizing access to engineering careers. Fast forward a few years, we still talked about the university every day. Not only about our campus, but about the idea of a university, about its mission, about its possibilities. Our children noticed. Our 3 teenagers often rolled their eyes or ignored us. Our youngest, for his part, used to mimic us, as toddlers often do. According to him, this is what he looked and sounded like during dinner conversation. La universidad! La universidad! By the way, this toddler, Alvaro, is here today with us. He's 11 years old now and a proud graduate of PS 24 here in the Bronx. And one of those teenagers is here today too, Esteban, an adult now, a proud New Yorker and a CUNY alum. So yes, for us, advancing the mission of higher ed is not just something we do. It's not something we say. It's something we live. And the vision we have for the future of higher ed, and hence for the lives we'd like to live, has been shaped by our next 3 scheduled speakers, who are Jose's mentors. Antonio Garcia Padilla, former president of the University of Puerto Rico system, Mildred Garcia, president of California State University at Fullerton, and Katie Haycock, founder and president emeritus of the Education Trust. Antonio, Mildred, and Katie taught us much and teach us much still about why it's important to let place and community determine the nature of the work, why a sense of purpose can only be sustained through a sense of urgency, and why sharpening an organization's focus leads to broader, deeper, and more intentional action. And today they will talk about these themes as they relate to a college that is starting a new presidency, approaching its 50th anniversary, and embarking on a quest to dramatically increase its contribution to educational attainment in the Bronx. A quest captured in the 90 by 30 challenge that calls on Lehman College students to earn 90,000 high-quality degrees and credentials by 2030. I am sure the remarks will be thought-provoking and inspirational. Thank you, Lehman College, and thank you, fellow Bronxites, for the welcome you have given us and for all the work you do to transform lives, lift communities, and uphold the tenets of social justice. Thank you.
Please welcome Antonio Garcia Padilla, former president, University of Puerto Rico.
Chancellor, trustees, elected officials,
faculty, students, staff, and guests. We convene today to mark the intersection of two paths. The path of a noble institution of higher learning and the course of an inspiring academic leader. CUNY's mission since the establishment of the Free Academy in 1847 has remained essentially unchanged: to pursue academic excellence and to provide equal access and opportunity for all ethnic and racial groups from both sexes. Access and excellence. At Lehman, the profile of the population served under that mission have evolved with time. From European immigrants to African Americans coming from the South, to Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans and Dominicans, to Central Americans, to Asians, and on to form a fascinating mosaic of peoples from the world. Some suggest that for any two residents of the Bronx picked at random, the odds are that their ethnicity will be different. For them and for their descendants, full participation in the community depends on access to quality higher education, access and excellence. The access to excellence CUNY has provided. But today, the commitment to inclusion and opportunities encounters again the sturdy hindrances that seemed surmounted in the century past. The most noble aspirations of the post-war social codes are under fire. For higher education, the challenge is categorical. Access and excellence are once more displayed as a dilemma, as hostile values essentially competing with each other. It is again argued that opportunities for the underserved can be provided only at a high price, quality. CUNY is one of the universities in the United States with the broadest experience in such debate. Jose Luis Cruz has devoted the passions and energies of his academic life precisely denouncing the falsity of the pretended dilemma, its political constructs, its moral flaws. He has gone beyond rhetoric. In his soft-spoken, despacito style, armed with a keen organizational mind, he has produced agendas and plans and strategies and gauges and assessments to prove his case. His views are not complacent regarding university cultures. Dr. Cruz has challenged the traditional arrogance of universities, has called for closer interactions with the feeding schools. He has asked the admission systems to evolve from an applications-driven paradigm to an invitation-driven model. At the end of the day, he is simply convinced that there is no true excellence without diversity and access. The convergence of the path of Lehman College and the path of Jose Luis Cruz is a festive occasion. Access and excellence is not a concern for only Lehman College and CUNY, not only for the Bronx and New York City. It is a concern for higher education nationwide, for higher education worldwide. To succeed, colleges and universities need today strong and visionary leaders aligned with the institutional mission. We are lucky to see such alignment at CUNY Lehman starting or continuing today. Read the mission as drafted in 1847. It has been once again validated here. Take a good look at Olmec's face as it sits in campus. It is smiling today. Listen to the echo at the old gym on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is resounding. The girls and boys of the Bronx are playing happier this afternoon. And look at President Fernandez's satisfaction as he sees his good legacy in good hands. Chancellor, trustees, faculty, students, staff, a good future awaits ahead. Enhorabuena, Presidente Cruz. Thank you all for the invitation.
Please welcome Dr. Mildred Garcia, President, California State University, Fullerton.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon, members of the board, Chancellor Milliken, Presidente Cruz, colleagues, friends, faculty, staff, students, and alumni. Thank you for welcoming me back to my old stomping grounds, the City University of New York. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and more than 40,000 students of Cal State Fullerton, it is my honor to be here today. A few years ago, I read an article that began with the following sentence. As I waved good morning to my third grader school principal, who typically starts our school day as a traffic cop in the congested drop-off area before moving on to cultivating a high-performing learning environment, I could not help but reflect on the level of her dedication and the enormity of her responsibility. I begin with this quote because the person who wrote it understands that the institutional imperative for campus communities to provide equitable access to an ever-evolving nation of diverse students begins and ends with its leaders, whether they are playing the traffic cop at a grade school drop-off or expanding programs to support underrepresented students at a world-class urban university. I also begin with this quote because it was written by a father who understands the importance of not only dropping his son off at school, but also appreciating the educators who are transforming his life. And of course, I begin with this quote because it was written by the man we are honored to be here to inaugurate as Lehman's third president, Dr. Jose Luis Cruz. I know that Dr. Cruz looks at all of you the same way he looked at the principal of his son's school on that fall morning 2 years ago, with admiration, with gratitude, and a hope to leverage the power of a collaborative and diverse community that will develop the strategic direction with laser-focused intentionality to ensure every child has equitable access to enroll, succeed, and graduate from college. Already, this campus community understands the scope of President Cruz's vision with his ambitious plan to double to 90,000 the number of degrees and credentials awarded over the next 12 years. He calls it 90 by 30. But there are probably some naysayers calling it something else, impossible. Those people don't know Dr. Cruz. By working collaboratively with all of you, he will create an institutional imperative that advances goals that build upon this college's great legacy and elevate it to places not previously considered possible. I know this because I've seen him do it. As president and vice president for academic affairs at Cal State Fullerton, he worked in partnership with me, our other vice presidents, and our entire campus community. First, We set goals that many said were impossible, and then to work collaboratively to not only achieve those goals, but surpass them. As provost, Dr. Cruz understood the institutional imperative of strengthening educational opportunities for the increasing numbers of traditionally underserved students, collaborating with our vice presidents for Student Affairs and Information Technology, who are here today, and many others to implement programs that is, in his own words, empowered us to eradicate educational inequities by being intentional in everything we do. For example, Dr. Cruz, working alongside the rest of our senior leadership team, was critical to the creation of Cal State Fullerton's student success teams that have revolutionized data-driven advising, particularly for low-income, first-generation, and underrepresented students. In 2016, the work of this collaboration between academic affairs and student affairs at Cal State Fullerton was presented at Education Trust Conference, prompting the Undersecretary of Education to announce that she would be taking it back to Washington, and a vice president from CUNY to ask if any of our Cal State Fullerton staff members wanted a career in CUNY. I had to stand up and say, enough. You can't steal all my colleagues. All kidding aside, the achievements of our student success teams reflects the power of intentionality and the spirit of collaboration Dr. Cruz contributed to Cal State Fullerton, and that is what he brings to Lehman now. He can and will show the world what Lehman College has always known, and the research continues to show. Equitable access to higher education benefits all students, not just women and people of color. And with this inauguration and the institutional imperative he is putting forth with all of you, I am confident Lehman College will soar far beyond what we thought was ever possible. Congratulations, Presidente Cruz, la doctora Rima Brusi, for joining. On behalf of all your colleagues at Cal State Fullerton, we are proud to call you one of our own. Now, I don't expect you to be working traffic later, but like you observing your son's principal back in California, I will look at you today, and I cannot help but reflect on your dedication. You're ready for it. Congratulations, Dr. Cruz.
Please welcome our keynote speaker, Katie Haycock, founder and president emeritus, the Education Trust.
Good afternoon, members of the Lehman community. About 10 years ago, my organization worked with the National Association of University System Heads to craft a new initiative that we called Access to Success. The idea was to create a vehicle for what we expected would be a small handful of university system leaders who wanted to sort of go full throttle on closing the longstanding gap separating low-income students and students of color from other young Americans. To our surprise and delight, actually 25 system leaders stood up and said, we want to be a part of this, and pledged to work diligently over the next 7 years or so to close by at least 50% those gaps between groups. Now, those of you who have been around academic leaders for some time undoubtedly know that many of them are far more comfortable talking about a problem or analyzing it microscopically than they actually are in doing something about it. And this initiative turned out to be no exception to that pattern. Indeed, at the first initiative-wide meeting, my colleagues and I from the Education Trust sat with growing despair as we heard system leader after system leader after system leader report on progress and plans that were mostly about plans to do more planning. Their goals were audacious, their timelines were audacious too, but the progress was tiny. Most significant to us, and this to me sort of said it all, not a single one had even managed a single meeting with their academic senate, which tells you a lot about how serious the action had been. But finally, we got to the last of the 25 systems. And this very soft-spoken man, who had said barely a word during the first 6 hours of the meeting, presented not another set of plans, but real work already accomplished. Faculty and department heads on board, check. Goals set for every campus and every academic department, check. Local school systems engaged and in motion, check. Even the mayors in towns all over the area had stepped up with some extra funding to create the science labs that their high schools needed in order to deliver on these promises. Check. Now, I'm guessing that many of you can already guess what that system was. It was a University System of Puerto Rico, led by Antonio Garcia Padilla, with the leadership of this initiative firmly in the hands of Vice President Jose Cruz. This small, underfunded system managed to put its much larger and much more generously funded counterparts to shame. While others studied the problem, UPR acted, and the results were clear not in years or in decades, but in months. Now, over all of those years, all of us involved in this initiative from systems all over the country grew to admire Jose Luis Cruz. Yes, he was still that quiet guy, but he burned with a passion for the poor. A passion, by the way, that you undoubtedly know is shared fully by his talented wife, Rima Brucey, who is herself a talented academic and journalist and activist on behalf of social justice causes. But his passion, which combined with knowledge that you can only acquire by doing every job in an institution, faculty, department chair, dean, vice president, he'd done them all. And that combination of passion and urgency and deep institutional knowledge enabled him to move mountains quickly. Now, you can imagine how a small nonprofit organization like mine, how blessed we felt when we persuaded him to take time away from academe to come to Washington, to join us at the Education Trust, and become a voice in the federal policymaking process for expanding opportunities for low-income students and students of color. He was still a quiet guy, never seeking attention for himself, and as all of you know, that's a rarity in Washington. But when he wrote, he roared with passion and moral outrage, and when he spoke, especially before Congress, they listened. Ask that guy with the bubble charts to come back and testify again next month was a common request from U.S. senators to our government affairs staff. And they did indeed listen. Because of his leadership and his voice, we made some very important progress expanding Pell Grants, and some very important progress restraining abuses in the for-profit college sector. Indeed, if you ask Jose over a cup of coffee or tea, or maybe a beer, to tell him about his favorite partner in testimony before Congress, Holly Petraeus, the general's wife, with whom he worked very closely and very successfully on preventing abuses in the for-profit sector for our veterans. Really important work that they did together. We also made progress under his leadership on calling institutions to action on insanely high cost burdens for low-income families, with such families being asked to come up with an amount equivalent to 72% of their entire annual household income to afford just a single year of college for a single one of their children. Now, I suspect to those of you in the Lehman community that none of what I'm telling you is a surprise. If anything, it will simply reinforce the pattern that you have seen over the past year. But I'm sure for anybody here who wasn't 100% sure that things were perfect as they were, that might be a little bit of bad news. But I can tell you, after observing this man now for more than a decade, it is decidedly not bad news for the children and families of the Bronx. There's probably no community in America, certainly not in the state of New York, where things are tougher than they are right now, right here. With both per capita and median household income only about 60% of the US mean, with a third to a half of its children living in poverty, depending on neighborhood, and a moniker as the least healthy county in New York State, the Bronx certainly has more than its share of challenges. But where others in higher education may see pathology, the man you are installing as your president sees something else. He sees possibility, he sees promise, he sees talent, he feels urgency. I know by now how that mind and that heart of his works. It always starts with the math. After all, he's an engineer. 1.4 million people in the Bronx, 25% of them under 18, another 11% under 24. That's more than 500,000 young people right here. Yes, indeed, many of them are growing up in poverty, but that does not mean they need to live their lives as adults in poverty. In this era, as all of you know, middle-class wages and middle-class opportunities demand college. Without a degree, more than 60% of those born poor will live their lives as adults in poverty or near poverty. With a degree, those odds turn entirely upside down. That's how important what you do, what your partners in the two-year institutions do. You change lives. Literally, you change lives. Now, it goes without saying, I suspect that we are living in particularly trying, not to mention particularly dangerous times. Certainly significant threats from the outside, but huge divisions within. The role of colleges and universities, especially those in urban America, is especially critical at times like this one. Institutions like Lehman have played central roles in times like these in bridging differences, in shaping culture, in fostering dialogue, and in fueling economic development. But the hidden little secret among all these contributions is this: that such institutions have not done as much as they could have to educate those with few other opportunities, and they have not done as much as they could have and should have to ensure that students actually complete the degrees that they're seeking. In far too many cases, institutions of higher education have themselves become not engines of opportunity, but engines of inequality. Now, with a faculty and administration like this one, and with that soft-spoken but very much in a hurry president sitting over there, Lehman College can, and I'll bet will, rewrite that narrative entirely, putting the young people of the Bronx community at the center. That's good for the Bronx and for its future. It's also important for the future of this country, for the American dream is in tatters and badly needs mending. So congratulations, Lehman College community, and congratulations Jose Luis Cruz. Thank you.
Please welcome James B. Milliken, Chancellor, the City University of New York.
I want to join in welcoming everybody to CUNY and to Lehman College for this special day, and especially to share my sense of optimism as we officially inaugurate an exceptional new leader at CUNY, President Jose Luis Cruz. President Cruz, as we have already learned, is a man of many parts. He's a serious and solid administrator. He's an educational innovator. He's a creative engineer. And perhaps best of all, for a CUNY leader, he's an inspiration to the outstanding students at this college, and frankly, to the people of the Bronx and to New York. When we look to President Cruz, we see a leader who has worked hard, achieved much, and is committed to the one thing that stands at the core of the CUNY mission: opportunity. When we began our search for a new Lehman president, something we don't do very often, one person stood out: Jose Luis Cruz. I was interested in someone special for this special place. Someone to build on the outstanding work of former President Fernandez, with a vision for the Lehman of the future, with even greater capabilities on behalf of the community and its students. In my view, Jose Luis was the perfect choice, and based on the feedback I've had from trustees, college supporters, faculty, and students, this is at least one decision I've made in my tenure that I've gotten exactly right. So, Jose Luis, I want you to keep making me look smart. So, it may take more than Jose Luis, but at least he can do his part. In addition to your outstanding academic accomplishments and your remarkable career, you bring another dimension to Lehman and to your work here, which is the strength and creativity and richness of the path you have followed to this point. As everyone here knows and highly values, our country, and especially New York and Lehman colleges, are places made great by people from all over the world. As you know, our diversity is one of our greatest strengths. We benefit enormously from the many interwoven cultural strands that make up New York, the Bronx, and what our students bring into the classroom. I especially want to stress that at this challenging time, knowing how important to all of you, our Puerto Rican colleagues, neighbors, students, and friends are to CUNY, that we are doing everything we can, hoping and praying for a strong recovery and working together, my colleagues and I, to offer what we can, in addition to the recovery efforts, to financial support, to support in material, to that support that the City University of New York can especially provide to our colleagues at the University of Puerto Rico, assistance for their students and their faculty at this time of great need. And I could not ask for a better partner in this effort at this time than Jose Luis Cruz as a leader of CUNY. Our focus at this university, and I know the focus of President Cruz, is about the work ahead, the promise that our students represent, and our mission to do everything possible to help our students achieve that promise. Congratulations, President Jose Luis Cruz.
Please welcome the Honorable William C. Thompson, Jr., Chairperson, Board of Trustees, the City University of New York.
It is an honor and a pleasure to be here this afternoon to be part of this convocation and inauguration of, and I say a little hesitantly, the new president of Lehman College, Dr. Jose Luis Cruz. And I say that if only when we say new president, in the Lehman world, he is a new president. But as he pointed out to me as we were coming in, he's been here for over a year already. So he's not exactly the new president, and he definitely isn't an unknown quantity. We don't have turnover at Lehman, and I can see that he's going to be here, as they would say, for the long haul. I expect to see many gray hairs over the years as you continue as a president, but the one thing, he's not just an excellent president, he's a great leader. And more than anything, a leader who cares. Someone who leads, someone who understands that our job, the job as City University, job as president of CUNY, is to help bring our students up, is to help prepare them for better lives, to create that opportunity, to be able to make their lives and their children's lives better. So it is an incredible honor to be here. I'm here as the chair of the Board of Trustees. There are many of my colleagues on the Board of Trustees who are here with me. Could you stand for a second? The members of the Board of Trustees, please stand. They believe in you also, Mr. President. Now, I have a role that I'm supposed to play here, and this is, as chair, it's interesting. President Cruz, confident of your dedication to the fortunes of Lehman College of the City University of New York, by the authority vested in me by law and on behalf of the Board of Trustees of the City University, I vest in you the office of President of Lehman College with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining. As a symbol of that office, we present you the President's Medallion, charging you to fulfill the obligations of your office. My congratulations, Mr. President. Congratulations today.
At this time, we ask Chancellor Milliken, President Cruz, and Dr. Brucey to approach the podium. We now ask Elizabeth Duran, representing the staff of Lehman College, to present the Presidential Medallion. Ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to present to you the third president of Lehman College of the City University of New York, Dr. Jose Luis Cruz.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I so deeply appreciate your presence here today. To my partner, Rima, thank you for the life of love and advocacy that we've built together. And just know that just as that first day we met, entre pairos y derivas, por los mares de mi vida, hoy siempre me veo bogando a ti. To my children, family, and friends, thank you for your love, your belief in me, and your faith in us. to Chairman Thompson, Chancellor Milliken, and the trustees of the City University of New York, thank you for placing in me, in my care, the fortunes of this most noble institution. To our university leaders, colleagues from sister colleges and schools, elected officials, public servants, corporate leaders, community organizers, friends of the college and friends of the Bronx, thank you for your ongoing support and for doing so much on behalf of so many. To our Lehman students, faculty, and staff, and our alumni, thank you for trusting me to lead our collective efforts into the second half of our college's first century. To my mentors, thank you for inspiring me by your example and for so eloquently establishing the imperatives that I hope will become hallmarks of Lehman College's third presidency. And to President Ricardo Fernandez, thank you for the legacy of your leadership. During your 26 years as our college's second president, Lehman became one of our country's top engines of opportunity, recently ranked 4th in the nation for our demonstrated ability to propel large numbers of low-income students to the middle class and beyond. President Fernandez, please stand so we can show you our appreciation for the exemplary life of service you have lived. Lehman's third presidency unfolds at a time of cyber confusion, political disruption, social turmoil, economic inequality, and climate upheaval. But this is unremarkable. Our first two presidencies were likewise launched at times of notable geopolitical change and civil unrest. What is remarkable is how our campus community has always managed to harness the turbulent times to fuel the next stage of its storied existence. Lehman's story is the story of the rebellious faculty of Hunter in the Bronx who gained their independence from Hunter on Park Avenue and went on to transform what was then a 37-year-old branch campus with its own illustrious history into what today is one of our country's premier public urban serving institutions. An institution which has in turn transformed the lives of over 75,000 alumni and impacted hundreds of thousands of others through its educational, cultural, and community outreach programs and events. An institution which today is privileged to educate more than 13,000 talented students who embody the aspirations of over 140 different ancestries and who exhibit the drive of those who strive to make their life here in the world's greatest city, the city of New York. Lehman's story is the story of a liberal arts college that upon its founding hoped to enrich the human spirit and offer to as many as they could realize their full potential the opportunity to be so enriched. A college that, notwithstanding the growth of its professional programs, remains fiercely committed to extending the benefits of a liberal education to all of its students, regardless of the course of study they choose to pursue. Lehman's story is the story of a community of teachers, scholars, and learners who over time rejected an insular identity and instead embraced the role it was in hindsight always meant to play, the role of a quintessential anchor institution in the Bronx. The words of Leonard Leaf, the college's founding president, illuminate that evolution. In his 1969 inaugural speech, he stated that for better or for worse, colleges were meant to provide the milieu for thinking about great issues, not for acting on them. But 20 years later, when asked if Lehman College would take a leadership position in helping the Bronx address some of the social ills of the day, his response was more in line with what one would expect today from an invested steward of place. Yes, he responded, it would be criminal for us to sit by the wayside. In launching our college's third presidency, we have a rare opportunity to set the stage for how we want the next chapter of our story to read. It was with this in mind that at our spring 2017 State of the College, I challenged our campus community to double from 45,000 to 90,000 the number of high-quality degrees and credentials that our students are expected to earn by the year 2030. At the time, I described 90 by 30 as a grand challenge that, if met, would dramatically increase the likelihood that children currently attending schools in the Bronx and the surrounding region would benefit from the value of a Lehman education, either because they would one day earn a Lehman degree themselves or a parent or relative would do so. Today, I want to add that 90 by 30 is also a value proposition. A value proposition to compel change agents in the public and private sectors to invest in our venture to become the top contributor to educational attainment in the Bronx. Change agents who understand that increasing the percentage of adults with a post-secondary education is a national imperative, who feel that access to a high-quality education is one of the most important civil rights issues of our generation, who recognize that our college's success in the Bronx would serve as a powerful image, a model for other urban serving institutions across the country who likewise aim to better serve the underserved. And most importantly, I want to add that 90 by 30 is meant to be a catalyst for urgent action, for the urgent action required to create the conditions whereby the promise of prosperity of a resurgent Bronx is within the reach of all those who seek to meet their full potential. Now, I'll be the first to admit that creating such conditions is no easy feat. The Bronx is moving forward and trending upward. Median income levels are up, and unemployment rates are at historic lows. But the borough's poverty rates are on the rise, and not all families are positioned to benefit from our booming economy. The largest demographic living in poverty in the Bronx today? Females ages 25 to 34. The income mobility rate for children in poor families? Among the lowest in the nation. The growth rate of the school-age population in the borough? Among the fastest in the state. And at 28%, the Bronx is next to last in educational attainment of the 62 counties in New York State. The magnitude of this challenge could paralyze most. But imagining what a better educated Bronx would look like provides a powerful impetus for us to forge ahead. If all Bronx residents 25 and older who today have at least a high school diploma earned a bachelor's degree, their fortunes and those of the borough would be vastly different. These residents would earn an additional $6 billion in annual income and generate an additional $2.8 billion in annual tax revenue. More than 57,000 would be lifted out of poverty, and an additional 43,000 would receive employer-provided health insurance. And tens of thousands would no longer need Medicaid, supplemental nutrition, or housing assistance. So forge ahead we must. And as a nationally recognized vehicle of upward mobility, Lehman must assume a lead role in the story that is taking shape as we speak, the story that one day will recount the renaissance of the Bronx. Because, borrowing the words of President Leaf, it would be criminal for us to sit by the wayside. Now, to move this speech along, I need to ask you to please indulge the baseball fan and physics nerd in me for just a minute. Is that okay? Yes? Okay? All right. Are there any Yankees fans in the house? Good. I expected as much. Any physics nerds? I am very pleasantly surprised. That's the physics department section right there, yes? All right. Well, just as the trajectory of an Aaron Judge home run is determined at the point of contact by the baseball's launch angle and exit velocity, so too will the trajectory of our students' success be shaped by our initial approach to 90 by 30. Yes. The end game may be in 2030, but the journey to 90,000 starts today. It requires deliberate, intentional action today. To this end, here are 5 priorities for the years ahead. First, we will build our institutional capacity to not only expand access, increase completion rates, and reduce time to degree, but also to ensure that our graduates become educated, empowered, and engaged members of their communities. We will do this by increasing the net number of full-time faculty and staff and expanding professional advancement opportunities for all those who do their part to advance our mission. Second, we will establish a robust data analytics operation to accelerate the graduation rate gains that in the past 5 years have established Lehman as the university's fastest improving senior college. We will do this by deploying Lehman 360 and other best-of-class information intelligence tools that will provide us the actionable data we need to improve the effectiveness of our educational pipelines, enhance the impact of our pedagogy, and streamline our academic and administrative policies and procedures. Third, we will optimize our resource allocation practices, continue to increase revenue from grants and contracts, and work to expand our virtual and physical infrastructure, including breaking ground next year on our new 50,000 square foot, $53 million nursing, teaching, and research center. And advocating on behalf of the 160,000 square foot Phase 2 Science Hall project currently contemplated in our 5-year capital improvement plan. When completed, these 2 buildings will increase our college's instructional capacity by 22% and do much to enhance the quality of our educational environment and sustain the enrollment growth inherent in 90/30. Fourth, as a means to accelerate our progress and ensure the coherence of our actions, we will double down on the strategies outlined in the Connected CUNY strategic framework and our college's Achieving the Vision plan, especially including those strategies designed to better support our faculty's research, engaged scholarship, and creative activities, and those meant to enhance our students' career prospects in the knowledge-based economy. Fifth, we will continue to solidify our identity as the most important, mission-critical senior college of the world's greatest urban university. We will do so by leveraging our institutional self-study process, mobilizing our college's stakeholders to advance 90 by 30, and celebrating our 50th anniversary with a level of exuberance and joy that will do the Boogie Down Bronx proud. To support these priorities, and as a down payment on our success, we will add at least 10 net new full-time faculty lines and 5 staff positions in the next 2 years. We will strategically fill 25 full-time faculty lines and fill 25 currently vacant staff positions next year. And we will establish a $3 million equity innovation fund to reward excellence and spur innovation as we work in the years ahead to bridge the gap that separates our current state of affairs from our professed aspirations. Now, given the backdrop against which we operate, our resolve will surely be tested. But when this happens, let us draw inspiration from how our namesake pursued his life's work. In 1969, on the occasion that our college was dedicated to his memory, Herbert H. Lehman, was described as a peaceful but militant fighter against the injustices which demean man. A courageous statesman who welcomed dissent, who challenged the existing order, but who at all times was steadfast in his devotion to the rule of reason. A leader who believed that an educated generation was the true hope, not only of a free America, but a free world. The governor never compromised his conscience, and we will never compromise our mission. In closing, let me restate my confidence that in the years ahead, we will not only further establish Lehman as a driver of transformative change in the borough we call home, but also inspire others to better support the millions of talented students beyond our borough who are coming of age in America today, but who, because of the color of their skin, the balance of their checking account, their place of origin, who they choose to love, or the tenets of their faith, have not yet been afforded the opportunities to meet their full potential. On this note of confidence and hoping for a very enthusiastic response, I now ask all of us here today if we are in fact ready for the hard, important work that lies ahead. Are we ready? Yes. Are we ready? Yes. Okay then, let's roll up our sleeves, sharpen our focus, open our hearts, steel our resolve, and get the job done. Thank you, Lehman College. Thank you.
To close our ceremony, please welcome Victoria Antonetti, President, Student Government Association.
Thank you. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Student Government Association, I would like to congratulate President Cruz on his inauguration and for his second convocation here at Lehman College. We are living in a tumultuous time. A time that is a call to action for leaders, here at Lehman and beyond. A call for leaders to assess situations, leaders to take action, and leaders to both rectify problems and inspire others to help as well. Here at Lehman, we are lucky to be surrounded by thoughtful, determined leaders all across the campus. Right now, the very challenges we are facing in the United States and beyond are being met head-on by student leaders like my fellow SGA officers, and also by senior administrators of our college, including President Cruz. Just in his first year, President Cruz has become an inspiration for the student body through his tireless work on behalf of Lehman College and the Bronx. Lehman College is a mixture of so many cultures, financial backgrounds, religions, interests, and stories, and more. Assuming the challenge of improving an institution that serves and promotes said diversity is clearly not an easy feat. Yet, President Cruz has shown that a true leader surmounts each new challenge. He has spent his time at Lehman listening, learning strengths and weaknesses, and offering new ideas. He has been collaborating with all departments and organizations to improve our college while planning new ways to support growth at Lehman based on his conversations with faculty, staff, and students. It is easy to see that Lehman is on a trajectory toward further greatness. Along with everyone in student government and the students across campus, I look forward to working with the President to help make Lehman College, the Bronx, and the world a better and more peaceful place for all. Thank you for joining us on this special event today. It is now my pleasure to invite one and all to the reception to celebrate this auspicious occasion. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our program has concluded. Please stand for the recessional and remain standing.
Thank you for that smattering of applause. All right, I don't need this.